In the meanwhile, Jesus taught in Solomon's Colonnade. The entire time this Sabbath-breaking session of the Sanhedrin was going on in one of the temple rooms, Jesus was walking around nearby, hoping he would be summoned to appear before the Sanhedrin. But they did not dare to call him. They had eagerly desired this opportunity, and now that Jesus offered it, they did not dare to bring him before the Sanhedrin, not even as a witness. His 2 apostles had taken seats among the audience in the council chamber and followed the session. It was midwinter, and people sought the partial shelter of Solomon's Colonnade. While Jesus was there, he was recognized, and soon a large group of people gathered around him. They asked him questions, and he taught them for more than 2 hours. Here, after he had answered many questions, he was directly asked by the inhabitants of Jerusalem, "How long will you keep us in suspense? If you are the Messiah, why do you not tell us plainly?" To which Jesus replied, "I have spoken to you many times about myself and my Father, but you do not want to believe me. Can you not see that the works I do in my Father's name testify about me? But many of you do not believe because you are not part of my flock. The teacher of truth attracts only those who hunger for truth and thirst for righteousness. My sheep hear my voice, and I know them, and they follow me. And to all who follow my teaching, I give eternal life. They will never be lost, and no one will snatch them out of my hand. My Father, who has given these children to me, is greater than all. No one can snatch them out of my Father's hand. The Father and I are one." Some of the Jews, who thought he was speaking blasphemy, ran to the place where the temple was still being built to get stones to stone Jesus with, but the crowd restrained them. But Jesus addressed them and said, "I have shown you many acts of love from the Father, so I ask you now, for which of these good works do you want to stone me?" One of them answered, "We do not want to stone you for any good work, but for blasphemy, because you, a mere man, dare to equate yourself with God." Jesus replied, "You accuse the Son of Man of blasphemy because you refuse to believe that I am sent by God. If I do not do the works of God, then do not believe me. But if I do the works of God, then even if you do not believe in me, you should recognize these works. But so that you may have certainty about what I proclaim, I assure you once more that the Father is in me, and I am in the Father, and just as the Father dwells in me, I will also dwell in everyone who believes this message." When the people heard these words, many hurried to get stones to stone him. But Jesus managed to escape by fleeing into the narrow streets of the city center. When he was sure that no one was following him, he carefully returned to the temple, where he waited until Nathanael and Thomas came back from the session. When these 2 apostles came out and reported what had happened inside, Jesus decided to stay another day in Jerusalem because he was concerned about Josiah. The next day, they went to look for Josiah at his house. Josiah had just received the news that he had been cast out of the synagogue, and he was downcast because of it. When they arrived at his house, Thomas called him outside, and in the courtyard, Jesus spoke to him and said, "Josiah, do you believe in the Son of God?" Josiah answered, "Tell me who he is so that I may believe in him." Jesus said, "You have seen and heard him, and he who now speaks with you is he." And Josiah said, "Lord, I believe." And he fell to the ground and worshipped him. This man had not heard of Jesus until the previous day when Jesus had suddenly healed his blindness without his asking for it. He had never learned a trade, and now that he could see, it was difficult for him to return to his place as a beggar. And now he had also just been cast out of the Jewish community. Jesus, seeing the negative side effect of his healing act, asked Josiah to prepare immediately to go with them to the camp at Pella. And so they left Jerusalem together with Josiah, disappointed, not to return until it was nearly time for Jesus to leave this world. Josiah proved to be one of the few recipients of miraculous aid who later bore fruit, for he became a preacher of the gospel of the kingdom for the rest of his life.